Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Scream 3. Scream 3 is the movie that kind of put a pause on the Scream franchise for a very, very long time. It came out 3 years after the second one, and it was directed by somebody completely different and written by somebody differently too. And so it was no longer directed by Wes Craven, who directed the first two. And you can kind of tell when you watch it, because it doesn't have his same like style, you know. But then the thing is, the reason why this movie kind of paused the franchise, and a lot of fans are kind of like stuck in the middle of how they feel about this, is because the dynamic of the movie changed when it came to the killer. There was a huge twist that happened that takes all the way back to the first movie that changes everything. There's an interesting cameo that makes almost no sense, but kind of does, but kind of don't. and then so the main star of the show doesn't even really show up to the middle of the movie, and she doesn't really do nothing until like the end. And that's because she was filming like another movie and stuff. And the one thing everybody can agree on is that the new cast members suck. Like, they're not cool in any way, shape, or form. So when they start to die, you don't care because they're not interesting and they're very comedic. It was almost like this movie was trying to be like Scary Movie, the spoof. And it really didn't make a lot of sense. But for the most part, it is a good slasher movie. It has good elements in it. It's just that new cast brought it down because they're not all that interesting. And also, you want to see Sydney, and when she don't show up throughout the majority of the movie, it just takes away from it, you know? And there's rumors going around that she was supposed to be in the beginning of the movie, get stabbed, and that's where she disappears, and then show up towards the end because of her scheduling conflict and stuff. Personally, I don't want to see that. I want to see Sydney live and everything, you know. But yeah. So needless to say, this movie, like, you're gonna watch it and have a good time, but you're gonna get irritated by all the humor in it, because it's not like the humor of the first movie that was so cool. It's just bad. It's what it is. The new cast, it has bad acting. I just put it like that, you know what I'm saying? So what this entails is, like, it starts off with Cotton Weary. He's now, all of a sudden, 3 years after the events of, like, the second movie, he's huge. He has his own talk show. He got his own talk show before Gail ever did. And so he's this big, like, news media type dude. And so he has, like, a fiance and everything. And she's the first one, the famous person to die in the movie. You know how it is, like, there's a famous person who dies in the beginning. So she's the first one. Kelly Rutherford, Ferd, or something like that. I remember her from Briscoe County Jr. First thing I ever saw in it. So anyway, he's flirting with this woman on the phone, and as he's driving home, and it turns out what's really cool. So this is what's really cool about the killer in this. The killer has a voice changer. So it's actually the killer that he's flirting with on the phone. He doesn't know that. And then the killer voice comes on, and the killer wants Sydney. Nobody can find Sydney. The reason for that, Sydney has went into hiding. After the events of the second movie and the scheduling conflict with Nev Campbell, they wrote it to where Sydney has just pretty much disappeared off the face of the map, and nobody can find her. And so, like, and the killer feel like if anybody knows, it'll be Cotton, and because he has connections. And so since Cotton's all like, I don't know where she's at, he's all like, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm gonna have to take it out on, like, your fiance. So he rushes home, and the killer is there already. You know, talking about how, like, your girlfriend's taking a shower, she's really pretty. So Cotton is rushing home as fast as he can. The killer is now pretending to be Cotton and everything. And he's all like, honey, I'm home. And then he, like, uses the knife and he stabs through, like, the door or something like that. And so she's all like, what are you doing? Are you playing your stupid stab games and everything? And he's all like, oh, no, I'm just gonna, like, kill you and everything. And so anyway, When the real Cotton shows up, she knocks him out thinking he's trying to kill her. And then the killer shows up behind and kills her. And then he stabs Cotton. And it's a really cool scene when he stabs, like he's over Cotton with the new voice changer. It's completely different. It's more round and stuff. And when he stabs Cotton, blood splashes on the killer's face, which is a nice cinematic move, you know. And so he kills Cotton. And Cotton is now dead. After all that mess they set up in the second movie, making him, and he doesn't even act the same way no more. In the second movie, he was all jittery and creepy. And in this one, he's just like a jerk who thinks he's the biggest rock star in the world. And so what's going on in this movie is that it revolves around the Stab movies. And of course, the Stab movies are based off of the murders from like the first movie that Gail wrote in her book. And so they're making movies out of this. But then they start to notice something. People on the movie set start dying. And so they needed like a consultant for the movie. So they brought in Dewey. He lives in the trailer there. And and the woman who plays Gail has like a crush on him. And so like when the real Gail shows up, because the murders start, the detectives, they call in Gail. Courtney Cox has a terrible hairstyle in this movie, which also kills this movie. She has stated she wishes she never cut her hair that way. It's long and stringy, but the bangs are cut very short and choppy. It does not look good on her at all. And I love myself some Courtney Cox, but I can't look at her in this movie because of those bangs and everything. So basically, it's like this huge love triangle between her, Dewey, and fake Gail. And so Julie, I think her name is Julie or something like that. And so like, whatchamacallit? Because Gail doesn't like the woman who's playing her. She doesn't like how Dewey's like hanging out with her, because her and Dewey had a falling out and they're no longer together. The reason why the detective brought her in is because every time the killer kills somebody, he leaves behind a picture of a woman, a young woman, Maureen Prescott. But we have never seen Maureen Prescott ever look like this. We always saw her in that older looking, like when she's older and stuff. And they don't understand. So this is the mystery, the thing where Gail and Dewey are trying to solve. Why is the killer leaving behind younger pictures of Maureen? And like, and then on the back of it, he wrote, "I killed her." And then so like people are like, this can't be. Stu Walker and Billy Loomis admitted to killing Maureen Prescott. So now this was really good about the movie. It's a huge mystery. They got to figure things out. It turns out Sydney's mom, back in the day, before she moved to where they live at in the first movie, she tried to be an actress in Hollywood, and she did a bunch of like B movies and stuff. And Carrie Fisher cameos in this, so that's cool. Jay and Silent Bob, they cameo in this, which is weird. And but yeah, Sydney's mom used to be like an actress and stuff. She failed. Then she moved, and like she found Sydney's husband, had a kid, and got married, stuff like that. So like it turns out that the movie lot that Sydney's mom used to be on was the same one that they're filming the Stab movies. So like they do all that, and then so we meet the new cast, and they're the ones who are playing people in the Stab movie. They are so uninteresting, it's not even funny. They're basically D-list stars and everything. And I hate saying that because like the only person I knew from the new cast, is the black guy playing Damien. He was from the Cosby Show. He was also on Sister Sister, playing one of the girls' boyfriends. Also Jenny McCarthy, Jenny McCarthy's not really a good actress. I mean, I remember when I watched this movie, I was like, oh my God, it's Jenny McCarthy. Only because I saw her in Baywatch, because she used to be a host of this MTV show. And you know, she's a model, she's a host, and stuff like that. That is what she's best known for. Acting is not her forte. And it shows in this a lot. And so like, I remember I was sad when she died, because I just wanted to look at her in the movie. But I was glad that she died, because you know, her acting wasn't all that great. We don't really get to know the new cast at all. We just know that they're big actors in a movie and they're trying their best. And so the killer is like killing people, but he's killing people in a completely different way than he normally does. He's not really running around stabbing people. He stabs some, he blows some up, and it's kind of cool when he blows people up. in that he blew up the house, and that one dude was in the house. The killer, basically what it is that the killer is killing people in the movie who dies in the order that they die in the movie. So they're trying to keep the cast alive, but they do a terrible job at that. The detectives and Dewey and stuff. And so like the killer said he's rewriting the movie and stuff. So the production wants to shut down the movie, but they don't want to, because, you know, they want to make their movie. And the director of the movie, he pops in and out. He's an annoying guy, a very annoying guy and everything. And so anyway, while they're still doing detective work and all that boring stuff with the new cast, we now get to Sydney. We find out what she is doing halfway into the movie. She is like basically secluded, living in like a house. She has a job, but nobody knows what she looks like. She like has her checks like direct deposit. She phones into her job. She's like one of those council hotline people. The only person who knows where she lives is her dad and Dewey. So we get to see her dad again and everything. She has a dream sequence of like her mom and everything. It's really creepy and cool. I like that. But then somehow the killer is now able to find where Sydney lives after doing so much research, and he calls her and everything. But he calls her like using like his like I think her mom's voice or something like that. And so she knows no matter what, she's not safe. So she needs to start, she turns on the news like he tells her to, and she starts to see all the killings on the movie set. So that sends her over there. And so the detective, he knows Dewey knows where Sydney at, and he's pressing him on it, but he won't tell. But then Sydney shows up anyway. And so it's a big reuniting type thing. And so Sydney hasn't been home since probably like the first movie in her hometown, right? Because she went to college and she just never went back. And then she lived in like another like town and stuff. And so when she's walking around the movie set, she's getting some huge deja vu and everything. And it's like, it's really eerie to her, and it's kind of creepy. And she can hear the voices of like the events of the first movie. And I like how that's set up, you know? That's really nice. Like she's reliving everything, and it's unsettling to her, but she's still managing to do stuff. Well, at some point the killer finds her, and he chases her all around the movie set. But when it's around the movie set, it looks like it's in her house. So it's a nice nod to the first movie and everything. And it's great. But then she ends up taking a wrong turn, and she ends up in the part we've never seen before in the movie. It's the murder room where her mom was murdered. So we get to see the room where Sydney, like, you know, because even the murder room with Maureen Prescott and everything, and it's creepy and it is scary and everything. And it shows just how Billy and Stu slashed the crap out of her, you know? Like, they went like nuts on her mom. And so Sydney has to relive this, and it's just too much for her. Then the killer starts to rise from the bed, underneath the bed sheet, and chases Sydney some more. The cops show up, and what is it? They can't catch the killer, like it's too fast. I think one of the cops is Patrick Dempsey from Grey's Anatomy. The other cop, I might be mistaken, I think he was the voice of one of the Ninja Turtles from one of the live action movies. I forget which one. He was either the voice of the second Donatello or one of the Raphaels. I can't remember which exactly. But I remember researching that and seeing that he was in the movie. I can't remember which one. God, I do think he was one of the Ninja Turtles. Either he was one of the voices or he was one of the people in the suits. I can't remember. But anyways, so like, you know, there's some more stuff going on, and the director's birthday is that night. So he's going to have a huge party. And so as Dewey and them still doing detective work with the fake Gale, they go to the producer of the movie. And they find out some more stuff about Maureen Prescott. They find out that, you know, it was back in like the 70s where everything was sleazy in Hollywood, where girls went for like movie roles and they showed up at like directors' houses and producers' houses, and they did certain services to be in movies and stuff. And so that Maureen Prescott did many years ago. And she did it to like the producer of that movie, this old sleazy man. And you know, they're all like, and so like, he lets Roman, which is the director, have his birthday party at his house. And so I think his name is Milton. And so nobody knew about all this. So Dewey threatens to kill, like, you know, the cops and everything. Next thing you know, he's all like, look, man, this is Hollywood. If you want to make it, you just have to like do something. So basically he's like a Harvey Weinstein, which is creepy because Harvey Weinstein produced all of the Scream movies and the TV show. So it was like art imitating life, and a lot of people didn't even really know that at the time. And so like the killer does have some cool kills, and when he's tricking people, sometimes when he calls people, you really think it's that person. So I do like that in the movie. And so in a way, they get down to like, so Sydney, she hides in the police station, and they have the birthday party now at for Roman at the sleazy guy's like mansion place, and it's a big weird mansion full of like mazes type stuff and Hollywood props and everything. And so the rest of the cast of the new show that's still alive is fake Sydney, fake Gail, and the black dude who's supposed to be like a Randy substitute and everything. And so is Dewey, and it's also Gail. And of course the killer shows up. Oh, the Roman's there too. And of course the killer shows up. And so everybody's getting chased around, and it's pretty climactic and everything. And the director dude ends up dead. Then the black guy and fake Sydney end up dead too. The killer calls Sydney. He tells her to show up, you know, it's time for the party and everything, but he's doing it in her voice. And she's all like, I ain't going to that party. And he's all like, oh, but then your friends are gonna die. And then he has Gail and Dewey tied up, and he's torturing Dewey and everything. So of course that makes Sydney go to the party while she's in the cops office and everything, the precinct. She grabs one of the cops' guns and she goes there. And so when she shows up, you know, she sees the black dude. He's like dead on the ground because he threw him from a window and stuff. And so there's like I think like a walkie-talkie or something like that, and or no, he calls on the cell phone. He's all like, before you come in this house, I want you to take that metal detector and do it all over your body. This killer is being thorough, boy. He want to make sure she ain't got no weapon. So she does it, and he's all like, you do the other leg. And so she does, like, so when she's running down her leg, she has like a gun in like her ankle area. And so she pulls it out. He makes her toss it. So then she comes in the house, and then he chases her around and everything. She tries to like help Dewey and all them, but pretty much the killer just chasing her all around. Dewey ends up getting freed and everything, and they're looking for Sydney. The other cop dude, he shows up. And what's interesting is Sydney totally tricked the killer. Okay, remember when she ran the metal detector down her ankle? She ran it on like one side, and then so it detected a gun. And so I think she had another one hit on the other side. And so she pulls out like a minigun. She starts shooting the killer. And when she's shooting the killer, I could have sworn I saw blood come from the dude's body or something like that. And so the killer goes down. Maybe no, I probably didn't see no blood. Maybe I saw sparks or something. So the killer goes down. She tries to free like Dewey and all them, but then the killer gets up. So he chases her around some more. And something happens. She goes into like a room. There's a projector playing. And this is the big reveal now. So the killer with the costume on is just monologuing to her, talking about like how you ruined my life, Sydney. You took the mother that I should have had. You had the life that I should have had. And like, you know, we something about like we both have like the same mother, you know, but she had a different name and a different life and all this other stuff. And he reveals himself. Because there's only one killer in this entire movie. That's something that changed. Like I said before, there's normally two killers in like the movie. But now there's like one and one only. So I was like kind of disappointed in that. There's no accomplice. And so it revealed to be Roman, the director, and everything. He's Sydney's long lost brother, Maureen Prescott. Back in the day, she messed around with all them sleazy directors and producers, and she ended up having a baby. She didn't want it. She gave it up for adoption. And then she moved to, met Sydney's father and had like a new family. So when he tracked her down, she said she didn't want nothing to do with him. This caused him to be pissy. So he set things in motion. He sent videos of Maureen cheating on like, her husband to Billy and showed that this is why Billy's mom left. And this is what caused Billy to want to kill Maureen Prescott. So technically Maureen was killed by Stu and Billy, but it was set up by like her own son. I gotta say, that's really interesting. And I did not see that coming. So in some ways I do like that, you know. But in some ways it does kind of take away from Billy and Stu just being stupid and wanting to do things on their own. But it kind of does put things into like a full circle, because the cameo that I told you about is from Randy. He made a video back when he was in college, afraid that he might not survive, and he wanted Sydney to know the rules of like a trilogy and everything. And the trilogy rules are something like, you know, something that's discovered that you did not know that sets things all the way back to like the first movie and everything. So I do like that aspect, and it's kind of cool that like Carrie Fisher was in there, you know, and they talk about Star Wars and everything. So yeah, so she's all like, well, you know, you got all your revenge. And so he also brings out Milton and talking about how Milton like messed around with our mother and turned her into a slut and everything, and then he kills Milton. So Sydney's all like, you got all what you want now, and blah blah blah, stuff like that. And then he ends up shooting Sydney. I'm like, oh my God, Sydney got shot. She's dead. Like, no, because Randy told Sydney that even the hero can die in the trilogy and stuff. I'm just like, no, man, she can't go down like that. So then Dewey and Gale, they escape. Oh, fake Gale is dead, by the way, by now. And so, God, fake Gale was annoying in this movie. Anyway, so I was glad when she got it. Anyway, so Dewey, so the lights are turned out because Dewey did something to make the lights go out. We see the cop dude, he's trying to like walk around, you know, he's got slashed. We see Dewey and Gale, they're trying to bust open the door. And then the killer, he's starting to freak out because Sydney is now nowhere to be found after he shot her. So it's a cool thing because he ends up calling Sydney on the cell phone to find out where she's at. And she's kind of like doing the same. And so the cell phone rings. It's near him. And so we see Sydney jump up and just stab her brother in like the back and everything. And at some point in time, Dewey and them come in and they're like, Roman, he's the killer. Now, it was weird because we saw Roman dead in the coffin with blood on his face, but he just faked his death and everything. But it doesn't make it's weird how the director made us see Roman walking around looking at stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, he's just dead in the coffin. Oh, also, Jenny McCarthy's character, her death was cool. She was in a room with tons of, like, ghost face, like, costumes. She didn't know which one's the real one, and the real one pops out. I will say, like I say, the kills are kind of cool in this movie. It's just the new cast brings the movie down. So, after Sydney stabs her brother, she holds his hand as he's dying and everything. And he's all like, you know, I have to complete my movie. And she's all like, stab 3, right? So she stabs him directly in the chest as she's holding his hand and he's dying. Well, at some point, you know, she's talking to Dewey and stuff. He's all like, you know, killers are like immortal, like Randy said. She's like, he's not immortal. And then he pops up crazed, getting ready to stab her and everything. So then Dewey starts like shooting the mess out of him, but shooting him in the chest. And she tells Dewey to shoot him in the head. Reason being that is because both Roman and Sydney think the same way. They both had on bulletproof vests. That's why when he shot Sydney, it didn't hurt her. And then when she shot him and stabbed him, it didn't hurt him. So then, in a weird kind of way, it ends on a note that like wraps everything up very beautifully. Sydney is now not afraid to like, you know, be by herself. Gale and Dewey are over there. Dewey proposes to Gale. She says yes. It's very beautiful, you know what I'm saying? Sydney is now dating that cop detective guy, which is kind of weird. And she has a dog also. So she just opens the gates to like her yard and the dog runs through. And it's just like this very beautiful, angelic kind of way. It letting you know everything is over with, everything is fine. Sydney's story has now ended. And then over a decade later, they made a fourth movie. So yeah, the third movie isn't necessarily like it's good. Like it has a lot of good moments in it, right? But it's just the fact that Sydney is barely in the movie. And that kind of brings it down. Then the new cast, they are terrible. I hate this new cast so much. But the idea of killing people in the movie that's based off the killings is really neat. That's like really cool. Having one killer, I did not like that at all. Because it's kind of like, how did this dude go around places so fast? That's why you need like a second killer and stuff. So it kind of broke that rule and it just broke my heart that I only had like one killer. Him being the long lost brother was neat. But then of course it's Courtney Cox's hair. But then ironically, in the fourth movie, I guess since Wes Craven came back, they tried to, it was like a soft reboot. In a sequel also. They kind of tried to redo the third movie and go back to the first movie, but they kind of failed. I do like the fourth movie. It's just the thing they set out to do, they failed. They wanted audience to get to know a brand new cast of characters, a new young cast, and make you like fall in love with them, and then the killings start happening. But then of course they brought in the older cast members. The moment they did that, it took away from the younger cast members. And it was to the point where the new cast members, even though they was on screen, they just faded away. Like you barely saw them, you barely knew them and everything. And some of them started dying like really fast. And so it's kind of like the new cast was unforgettable because like once the older cast showed up, nobody cared about the new cast no more. And then they did the whole family. Well, I'll get into that later. So, and then of course now there's the fifth movie, which a brand new cast of young people again. They're trying to redo the fourth and the first movie yet again in the fifth movie. And the older cast is going to show up again. So I wonder how big of a role they're going to have, because the moment they show up, nobody's going to care about the new cast unless they make the new cast interesting. That's the problem they did. That's the problem with the third and the fourth movie. The cast was not interesting. And so of course, you know, after that, after the third movie, and they tried to make like a TV show, which I'll get into that some other day. So yeah. Now wasn't that spooky? Alright, well I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.